Amy Marks had to wait for hours on the floor of her inaccessible Melbourne apartment after she fell while reaching for glass. Marks lives with cerebral palsy and is one of many Australians with a disability who are unable to find accessible housing in Australia's intensifying rental crisis. She told 9news.com.au she had to settle with an inappropriate home or face being forced into a retirement home at the age of 26. Marks can't reach her kitchen cabinets and has to keep her plates on the floor. Even getting an Uber has become a nightmare as there is no accessible parking nearby. Read more. NASA waves off Artemis I launch attempt a third time. Do you have a story? Contact the reporter on Alana. She Paris at 9.com.au. It's a struggle. Trapped in expensive and inadequate housing, tenants across the nation are feeling the pinch of a housing shortage, with vacancies dwindling and rental prices rising. So where can you find accessible housing? It took 6 months for Marks to find an apartment. She pushed her budget to get into a semi-suitable place with railings in the bathroom, but the apartment still does not have many basics she needs. I am in a place that is kind of accessible, but all the kitchen and storage is overhead, so I have to store all my kitchen stuff on the floor until I can buy better shelves, Marks told 9news.com.au. It's not ideal, but it will do. It's the best of a bad situation. Marks uses a wheelchair part-time and crutches full-time. The 26-year-old said finding a rental with accessible parking, ground-level storage and furniture was near impossible. She said there's not even accessible parking nearby. I was trying to go out last month, but I had to cancel because an Uber literally couldn't pick me up because they couldn't find any parking nearby. I don't take public transport and avoid it, so that's not an option for me. Marks said she was faced with a decision to either accept the semi-suitable situation, or move into a retirement village. It's a struggle. If you're 26, you don't want to be in a retirement home, she said. I am one of the fortunate ones, and that is really scary to think about. Majority of people with a disability don't qualify for support. Marks has been denied Specialty Disability Accommodation, SDA, support under the National Disability Insurance Scheme, NDIS. SDA housing refers to a range of housing designed for people with extreme functional impairment or very high needs. A spokesperson for the National Disability Insurance Agency, NDIA, which manages and implements the NDIS, told 9news.com.au Marks was not eligible for SDA funding due to her functional capacity. Hers is an all-too-familiar issue with long-lasting impacts, according to Tim Naughton, who works with the Summer Foundation, which advocates for housing options for people with disabilities. Read more. How do you spot a fake sneaker? It's big business. Naughton said only a small percentage of people were eligible for specialty disability accommodation. What they are left with is trying to find some form of housing that they can get through the front door of, he told 9news.com.au. He said the rental crisis has made it hard for most people to find housing, but that can be almost impossible for people with disabilities to rent or buy. The only way a person can get an accessible house is to retrofit their own house, which is prohibitively expensive, Naughton said. Summer Foundation has created the Housing Hub to give people with disabilities a website to filter for accessibility, unlike its mainstream competitors. The Hub helps people through a variety of ways for people living with disabilities to get suitable accommodation, Naughton said. Read more. Mother's warning after teen son hospitalized with meningococcal change to come. Peak bodies, including the Summer Foundation, have petitioned state governments to ensure newly built homes meet mandatory accessibility standards by adopting an opt-in section of the National Construction Code, NCC. Building ministers met last month and voted to adopt the changes from October 2022, with a 12-month transition period. The code means newly built homes will include features like step-free entry, step-free showers, ground-level accessible toilets, structural reinforcements to support grab rail installation in bathrooms and doorways, along with transitional spaces to allow ease of movement. We called on all governments to make a decision in the building ministers' meeting to increase the number of accessible houses in the community, Naughton said. While other states, including Victoria, have adopted the opt-in section of the code, New South Wales, Western Australia and South Australia said they will opt out.